We're going to be talking about today how to move from feeling not enough to enough. As you can see, the person that doesn't feel like they're enough is sad. The person that feels like they're enough is happy. And I got some requests given my last video about inconsistency. We talk about procrastination and we talk about not allowing yourself to have what it is you desire. And it's largely because of the difference between here and here. And so I'm going to teach you how to shift this limiting belief of feeling not enough, not good enough, to feeling like you're enough. So let's get into it. The important piece here is knowing that your world, your perception, your reality, everything that you have in life is all dictated off of your belief system. So essentially, you and your beliefs, your faith in what God can do for you, creates the life you're currently living. And I know that may be hard to reconcile with or to sit with, because that means we have to take accountability for it. But that's the first step in the process, is taking accountability and standing in your power for what you can do about it. Without that part, you're going to struggle to make this shift. So, first step is take accountability. Accountability, yeah, that's an L. For your current reality. Because without accountability, there's nothing you can do about it. What's the danger in that? It's never going to change because you are right here. Hello. Here is your energy system. It's all energy in here. This is your energy system. This is all your power. And when you are outsourcing your power to money, success, relationships, validation, acceptance, circumstances, then you don't have anything, you have no power. If you are giving away all of your power to these outside forces, you have no power left inside of you. You have given it all away, and this can go to anything. This can even go for like religion. If you're outsourcing your power to like, oh, let me just pray and it's going to fall into my lap. I don't need to take personal accountability. I don't need to follow the inner guidance when God does speak. Like, I don't need to ask, then seek, then knock. Like, I don't have to actually take the action because you don't have any energy left for it. You've given it all away to these outside sources that what can happen with money? It can go up, it can go down. So if your mood is directly tied to the amount of money you make in a day or the amount of money you make in a month, then what's that going to do for you when money goes up and down? What happens with success? It goes up, it goes down. What happens with acceptance? Some people accept you, some people don't. Depends. If we're stuck in a pattern of suffering, we probably attract and move towards people that don't accept us. So we're constantly keeping ourselves stuck in a loop, which is extremely, extremely, extremely dangerous. To attach your self-worth to things that can fluctuate and go up and down and that are outside of you that you have no control over is so dangerous for your ability to feel like you're enough. So we must first understand relationships go up and down. Somebody else's mood could be up or down. And when our mood is depicted on other people's moods, dangerous. When our mood and feeling like we are enough is depicted on the validation we get from others, dangerous. When our feelings about ourselves, our self-worth are depicted upon our circumstances, very dangerous, especially if you're not in an ideal circumstance. Circumstances can change, validation can change, these are all things that can change. What is one thing that you have the control over that you constantly abandon is your internal power. And that is how you are going to feel enough. That is how you are going to learn self-mastery. Because something I teach in the Money Expansion Club, which you can find the link in the bio for that. I also have a free masterclass too that's there if you want to watch the masterclass first. It's super helpful so you can understand it a little bit better. That is something that I teach strongly inside of the Money Expansion Club, is to learn how to stay in your self-mastery by being the master of money. Learning how to master money versus allowing money to master you. Because otherwise you don't have control over the flow of it. Learning how to master your own success. Learning how to master acceptance by accepting yourself. Learning how to master your relationships, right? Master your emotions, master your mindset. Being a master instead of letting your mind master you, rather than letting your emotions master you, you fall into self-mastery. And when you can master your inner world, because this is an inner world, it is not an outer world. No, I didn't say that right. This is an inner game, not an outer game. And if you can master yourself, then you'll be able to be a master of all the things outside of you. And that is when you feel filled up, you feel like enough, and that nothing in the external world can shift your internal world, because you have learned to master that and know that everything that you believe in your system is what's created outside of you. So when you believe that, what you believe, what God can do for your life, it shows up. Every single time, it never fails. I ask God for something with conviction, with full belief, I receive it. I receive it every single time. And that's how I learned this practice for myself, is that when I don't truly believe it, or when I feel the block there, it doesn't happen. And I noticed that. And I started to kind of research that within myself and understand that and see that. And that's when I realized, wow, I have to master my internal world through seeking God, because God is inside of you. You have all the answers inside of you. You just don't trust it. You just don't trust it. And that's the thing here. And we start to, because we don't trust our ability to hear and listen, clear our mind, and do the practices so that we could hear that inner guidance, we start to put all of the weight on the things outside of us, which makes us feel not enough, because we've outsourced our power. Right? I'll do it when my circumstances are better. I'll do it when my partner validates me. I'll do it when my relationship is in a better place. I'll do it when I have more money. I'll do it when I'm more successful. I'll do it when I feel accepted. And what you're doing is you're putting your timeline on all of the things outside of you as if it's an idol, as if that's your master. You're like, oh, okay, I'll let money decide when I do that thing. Oh, I'll let success decide when I do that thing, rather than seeking the voice of God, rather than seeking your internal wisdom that's already in you by learning how to master this inner world here. You've outsourced your power, and now you feel like you're not enough. Now, this is really, really important to understand, because without this piece, we can't even get into breaking the pattern. So we need to take full-blown accountability for why we don't feel enough. Oh, it's because my parents treated me like X, Y, and Z. And it's because my parents, there's all of this generational trauma, and there's all of this stuff, and that's all valid. I'm not going to sit here and say that's not valid. But as long as you're an adult watching this video right now, You have all of the abilities to enter self-mastery, to make the changes in your life. I mean, you watching this video right now is taking steps, and you should really pat yourself on the back for that. But it is the difference, and I'll explain this one really quick, and then we're going to get into the pattern. Because I'm going to do a whole nother video on this topic. And if you really want to see a video on this soon, let me know. Because it's when you understand this concept, it's good. So it's the difference between child brain. This is what I call it. Somebody said to me one time when I was teaching on this, they're like, that's not science. First of all, I never said it was science, but also, come on. Really? Child brain versus adult brain. I'm not here to teach you science. I'm here to teach you about life, shifts, your inner world, and there's a lot more beneath the surface. So, child brain versus adult brain. Child brain says, I'm still stuck under somebody else's roof. Get this. This is going to blow your mind. That feeling that you feel about being stuck in your current circumstances, stuck in your current situation, comes down to you still being in child brain, the brain of a little 7-year-old that's still stuck under someone else's roof. What happens when you're stuck under somebody else's roof? You have to follow their rules. You have to do what you think they want. People pleasing, friends, people pleasing. What you think they want. You're unsafe. Your safety relies on others. And there's a laundry list, really, but I hope you catch my drift is like, child brain says I'm still stuck under somebody else's roof, under somebody else's care, somebody that I can't trust to take care of me, so I'm unsafe. I'm constantly feeling unsafe. I'm constantly feeling like I need somebody else to give me that safety, that validation, that acceptance. That's what child brain says. Child brain says, I'm a little kid that can't take care of myself, and so I'm outsourcing my power, because as a kid, that is what we have to do. We rely on our parents to keep us safe. We don't know how to operate in the world. We're not old enough to go out into the world and do things on our own, so we have to rely on our caregivers. And if our caregivers were not reliable, then we can be stuck in a dysregulated space. It's stuck in this real main word here. This big feeling of feeling stuck is that you have not merged out of being a little kid and thinking you're still stuck to adult brain. Because what happens when we become an adult? We are independent. We have resources. We can take action. We don't need to ask for anybody's opinion or we don't need to ask for permission. Okay, now I'm getting sloppy. Or opinions. We don't need to be loved by these people anymore to survive. That's just survival brain, right? That's just normal to survive. You get what I mean? So that's the thing. We think that we need these people's love, acceptance, validation in order to survive, because we did when we were a kid. And it is the difference of merging out of this child brain and into this adult brain. And there's a 4-step process to do that. So, and we're gonna get to it. We're gonna get to it. But right now, what you really need to understand is another thing, like acceptance, taking accountability. Am I stuck in child brain? Am I still stuck, needing validation, needing to be loved in order to survive, in order to get to the next place, in order to feel like I can take my next step, in order to not be so fearful? Because empowered brain, I say empowered brain because adult brain is empowered. This person's empowered when they fully merge into their adult brain. And this is part of the mindset logical work I do with my clients. This person is stuck. They are stuck. They are limited. They are stuck in this limited mindset and this limiting belief set. And they're stuck in a pattern. And it's the difference between going from here to here. So let's get to it. Let's talk about it. If you think this is not science, and this probably isn't the channel for you, but if you are getting this, then stick around. This is good stuff. It has changed my life. It has changed my client's life. And it's just material that's spoken in a way that I feel like is easier to understand, right? Like I just word it that way so that it's easier to conceptualize. And it's easier to compare and see. And again, like I used to work with kids in human behavior with severe PTSD. They were stuck in a state of unsafety, in a state of their old ways, their own lives. And I had to help them merge out of that. And so that's kind of where that comes from for me. All right, let's talk about the limiting pattern. If you've been here before, you kind of know how this goes. Pattern starts with a limiting belief, creates a fear to protect the mind, which then creates a behavior to placate the fear and gives you an outcome that keeps you in a limiting pattern. So the limiting belief here is I'm not enough. The fear is success. The behavior is self-sabotage. And if you're wanting a little more depth on this and you haven't watched my prior video about the inconsistency pattern, definitely go ahead and watch that so that you can get a deeper understanding. But this is really just, we're going to talk about what you can do to get from I'm not enough to enough. But we break this down in more detail in that video. Okay, the outcome becomes stuck in the same place. And inconsistent. Up and down. You know, there's lots of outcomes. Could even be up and down, chaotic, whatever else. Okay. Now, in order to break this pattern, the first step, well, let's go through this first. I'm not enough creates this fear of success. Pretty much to just, everything that you do here is going to confirm your limiting belief. I have a fear of success because I don't believe I'm enough. I can't show up for it. I'm not good enough to show up and be successful. I don't deserve it. All those things. So then you self-sabotage whenever success gets close because you're living in this place where like you can only have this much when you're wanting this much, but everything that you try to have bounces off because it's too big to fit in your current capacity, right? And we talked about that in the last video. And then we go to self-sabotage just to keep you in your current belief system. And then you just end up feeling like you're stuck in the same place, inconsistent, up and down. And what does that do? Confirms your limiting belief and keeps you stuck in this revolving pattern. Now, what you need to do in order to get from here, limiting pattern, empowered pattern. Okay, we're trying to get to I am enough. Okay. This is what I call the pattern. This is my method that I merge into everything that I do. Pattern breaking method. Okay. This is definitely something you can start practicing on your own. But again, if you need more support, the Money Expansion Club, we do this with money. There's an entire course that walks you through step by step. You could probably finish it in 3 months. It is in depth. It is insane. But you can take that and apply it to anything that you do, really. And so what we're going to want to do here first is heal. Nobody ever likes to hear that one because they're like, oh, I don't want to look at that stuff. I don't want to go there. I already did the healing. Yeah, I mean, I've said that before too when I was trying to avoid doing some healing work. So I get it, but this is what you're going to have to do. So it's inner child work. Somatic work. It's really not just talking about it in therapy. I think therapy gives you a lot of awareness. I love therapy, but there's deeper work to be done. And that's why I took on coaching, because there's like action-based processes that actually change your brain. Because when you change down here, when you change the behavior, it starts to send your brain a new message. And that's how you're going to break this pattern, essentially. So when we get down there, when we change the behavior, it's going to send your brain new messages every single time you practice a new behavior. I am enough. It sends your brain a new message. Every single thing that you do sends your brain a message. Every single time you eat the cookie when you're on a diet and you don't want to eat the cookie, you just send your brain a message like, I can't trust myself. I don't love myself. My health is not important. And it just keeps you stuck in patterns. Really important stuff. This part is where you want to get to the origin. And so for something so broad, like I'm teaching on a rather broad limiting belief. Sometimes we get really granular with it, but right now, something so broad, there may be many origin stories here, but we're gonna wanna go all the way to the root, all the way to the very beginning and continue working through those. Okay, what made you feel not enough? And then you can do some of that inner child work. And this is where you feel something that we've lost along the way as humans in society. We don't know how to feel anymore. And it's really important to learn how to feel your emotions again, because that's the only way you're going to be able to release these old emotions around how you feel about yourself. Because if you know and watch other videos, you know I love the map of consciousness. And if we are constantly stuck in low vibrating emotions, I'll bring it up here on the screen, we're going to be stuck in those low vibrations and we're not going to be able to access higher vibrations of like, I'm feeling like enough, I'm feeling like I can make more money and I can have more success and I can have a healthier and better relationship and I can be healthier and have a better body and have better energy and all these things. But we can't get there if we're bogged down with these low vibrating emotions. So in order to release those low vibrating emotions, you have to feel them, release them, let them go. So then we can get down to the mindset work. This is where we start to get logical. We start looking at what is your perspective versus reality. Okay, this part's important because when you get down to the origin story and you created stories about why something made you feel not enough, we can start to say, okay, this made you feel not enough, but the reality was, maybe I can give you an example from my life. One of my parents were hypercritical, and their hypercriticism made me feel like I wasn't enough. Okay, so the perspective was hypercriticism. I couldn't do anything right. That was a story I made up in my head, is I was hypercriticized. That was my perspective. That was my story. I can't do anything right because they criticize me. But the reality was my parent just desperately needed to be needed. And they're projecting a feeling inside themselves where they didn't feel enough. And that's what people will do when you try to climb the ladder. People in your life will try to tug you down and pull you down when they see that you're climbing higher than them, because that makes them uncomfortable. That makes anybody feel really uncomfortable. Like, oh, you can't go higher than me. You need to stay here with me because you might leave me. I need to feel needed. I'm projecting all of those feelings of like, I don't want to get greater. I don't want to do more. So let me criticize you and try to bring you down. So when I realized the difference between, oh, this is how I received a situation, this is a story I made up in my head, versus the true reality is this, when that started to land, that's the mindset work. And then you could start incorporating affirmations, because affirmations can't make it past your little brainstem if you don't do the healing work, because then all of these old emotions will constantly block any type of mindset work that you do. So it's important that you do it in this order. 3. Now, behavior change. Behavior change. This is when you start to rewire your habits. You start to change the things that you do. And that's when, this is, like I said, don't mind my spelling. If that bothers you, sorry. I might miss a letter here and there. When you start to change your behavior, again, that's what's going to send your brain a new message every single time. Because every time you self-sabotage yourself, you just told yourself, oh, okay, we belong in this little box that we've created for ourselves of not having enough, not being able to be enough, not enough. But when you break outside of those walls and you change your behavior, it sends brain new message. Mind, body, spirit, they all work in correlation with one another. All must be online to be able to break this pattern and be able to get there. So pray to God, just pray, ask for guidance, because it really is important to get that spirit online. And you can't do this alone. You really can't. It takes an army. It takes work. Like, it takes mentors. It takes guidance. It takes God. It takes all of it. And just don't try to do it alone. And again, I'm just grateful you're here watching this video, so that you can gain this knowledge, because it is life-changing. Okay, 4, stuck in the same place. Okay, believe it or not, receive. You have to receive new outcome. Okay, this is where you go from here. This is where you go from here, your current capacity, to here, because you allow yourself to leave your comfort zone. Everything you've ever known is in this box. Everything that you've ever known is right in here. Everything that's outside here is unknown. This is where people get really stuck. Okay, I did the mindset work, I did the behavior change, like we work through all of this, clients and I, and then we get here and it's like, oh, okay, my life's about to change, because at this time, you're going from here to here. What could happen? Your friendships might change. You might have a new career. You're going to have to exert energy in different ways and in different times. And you might have an entirely new mindset. You might show up completely different. That might mean you have to endure rejection, or you have to reject others because they don't fit in your life anymore, because this new place that you have where people used to be pulling you down, you're not allowing that to happen anymore. So you have to receive that new life. And this is where people stop. And they take their time and they think about it. Am I ready to give up my old life? I've seen relationships. I've seen people break up. I've seen people have to leave a whole friend group. I've seen people move out of their hometown. I've seen people change their lives because they were ready to receive a new outcome, a new life. Because when you allow yourself to receive it, what happens when you allow yourself to receive something really great, like love? Kindness of somebody else, somebody held the door and you really fully appreciate it. It says, I'm enough. I deserve it. And I'm worthy of it. And that's the difference. But if you sit here and you don't let yourself have it, what message does that send your brain? Because everything we do sends our brain a message. Okay, we're getting there. We're getting there. So, we're going to heal too. This is the empowering belief. I am enough. And some people think you can't get there. You can get there. You can get there. Your behaviors constantly tell you the new story. I am enough. I deserve it. And then we go from having a fear of success to embracing growth. Why did I just do that? Embracing growth. You're probably going to have some practices in place. Input expansion practices. Practices like stopping to breathe, taking a break before we have this fear, start to try to run our lives. Those are really important. Everybody's very different as to what type of practices they like to have. Some people like to journal, some people like to take a breath, some people like to just, call on their support system or have accountability groups. I love accountability groups. I run a mastermind. We hold one another highly accountable through the expansion, the process of something like this. And that's the reason people are successful. I've seen clients go from 4-figure months to 5-figure months in a month. I've seen a client go from making $100K a year to $200K a year. Like it's crazy things that I've seen just through allowing yourself to be held through expansion and having expansion practices, because you will self-sabotage, right? So the behavior then becomes, this is going to be empowering mindset. The new behavior is going to be, this goes down there. Embracing growth. This goes in behavior. I skipped a step. So let's go down there for a second, and then we'll come up to that empowering mindset. Okay. Empowering behavior will be embracing growth, expansion practices, accountability. The empowering mindset is more so going to be that success is safe. This is where success is safe. Growth is safe. I can do it. And it's all of those mindset shifts, getting away from the fear that used to protect us from ever feeling the hurt that was caused from feeling not enough, to now embracing like, hey, we're safe here now. We're an adult brain now. Everything's going to be okay. I can do it. And that's where that becomes important. Now, new outcome. New outcome will be you're stuck in the same place, or you're inconsistent, consistent growth. And when you start to see that consistent growth, that's what's going to send your brain a new message. Say like, I am enough. I'm consistently growing. I'm seeing the results. I'm seeing myself receive new outcomes. I've got this growth, this empowerment, this goodness I feel inside of myself from being able to receive this new outcome of this consistent growth. We don't like that up and down chaotic growth, because then you just end up in the same place. But when you can have consistent growth, you watch that uptrend. Let's see. This is what happens when you have chaotic growth. I'm just going to put it above this one, because this is chaotic growth, okay? We've got nothing really happening. Oh, one high. Okay, nothing really happening. Oh, one high. But when you average it all out, you stay in the same place. But you want to ride the uptrend. You will certainly take dips. Not typically what happens during expansion, but you ride the uptrend up, up, and up. So we're going up, instead of stuck and staying in the same place. So that's what we want to do. That is how we want to get to where we are going. So that really is the journey from I am not enough to I am enough. And if you have any more questions, or if you left any notes around this topic on this video, I would really like to know about them in the comments. And if you are interested in looking into the Money Expansion Club and doing this work deeper with money through a course, then check that out in the link below, or you can access the free masterclass and just check that out. There's a lot of good info in there too. And that's all I have for you guys today.